Kevin, thank you. Nicolas Maduro could make a federal court appearance in New York as soon as Monday, as you see video of him there being brought to the U.S. earlier this evening. Attorney General Pam Bondi says he's facing a long list of drug charges, narco-terrorism at the very top of that list. Bondi says Maduro and his wife, along with at least 3 other defendants, quote, partnered with narcotics traffickers and narco-terrorist groups. There is a 25-page indictment against Maduro. For more, let's bring in Jonathan Fahey, former federal prosecutor. Jonathan, great to have you here, and I think we can pull up the charges against Nicolas Maduro. It is a laundry list of charges, if we can put them on the screen. How difficult, though, Jonathan, is the case to prove?
Well, I thought it was interesting when I looked at the indictment, how extensive it was, not just in the substance of the charges, but how long the conduct had been going on. I think it was about over 20 years of this conduct going on. And these cases, typically drug cases are proved with witnesses, with surveillance, with wiretaps, types of things like that. And it does indicate by that indictment they do have some recorded conversations, things of that nature. So my guess is this probably would not be that hard to prove. And I say this for a couple of reasons. One, this was indicted, like you were saying, or your prior guest was saying, in 2020 under the first Trump administration, but it continued under the Biden administration. These international cases are usually quite strong to begin with because they have various hoops that are in addition to normal domestic cases to get through. And the fact that it carried over from the Biden administration, they thought the case was worthy of being prosecuted still. And also, this had been investigated. I think the originally case was opened maybe 2011 as a criminal case. So this has been going on a very long time. So I suspect they will be able to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. Obviously, that's an open question. I don't really know. But I think the evidence will be substantial. It'll be overwhelming. And he's facing a life sentence if he's convicted of this. So there may be some avenues for him to try to reach some resolution that includes him not going back to Venezuela or anywhere else at the end of this. But, that is probably too preliminary to talk about that yet.
Yeah, I wonder, Jonathan, two points. How long, in your experience and your expert view, is a case like this going to take to get from the point at which we are now to an actual jury verdict? And also, do you think he will stay, if convicted, in a U.S. prison?
I would say, under the first one, I would say probably at least a year. Under the federal rules, the Speedy Trial Act requires a 70-day trial, but in complex cases, that's usually extended. I would expect there's a lot of discovery and other preliminary issues, so it'll be at least a year to get it to a jury and get a verdict from a jury. Secondary, I think he will, if he's convicted, stay in a U.S. prison, absent a scenario where there's some sort of resolution where he would go somewhere else. But yes, so the question would be probably a year, U.S. prison until the duration of his sentence, which I think will be a life sentence if he's convicted, because they will sentence based a lot of it on the amount of drugs, the weapons, and all those other factors in this, and the gangs and organized crime aspects of it.
And drugs that the Trump administration has said very clearly have killed a very high number of Americans over the years. Jonathan, I want to look, if I can, at the broader question of the legality of the operation. Now, Democrats are calling it, some Democrats, I should say, are calling it into question, saying that they don't believe this was a legal operation by the United States in terms of international law. That strikes me as a pretty weak argument, given that he was criminally indicted in the United States. What say you about that claim by some Democrats?
I agree it's a weak argument, and the fact that he's been indicted, and the fact that the indictment was 5 years ago, so it wasn't like a pretextual indictment to go in and get him. And think about this, during the war on terror, the U.S. was going into countries all over the world, snatching people up, bringing them back here for trial or bringing them to Gitmo, and that was routine practice. Particularly in a failed state like Venezuela, you're not doing a normal negotiation with extradition and things of that nature because the government president was Maduro, so you couldn't really do normal channels. So the option the U.S. had was don't do anything or prosecute this case. And the Trump administration chose the bolder move of prosecuting this case. This guy has been a danger. Again, we had 400,000 people die of drug overdoses during the Biden administration, and Trump has said that's enough. This is going to stop. So the legality, the argument that it's illegal is very weak. Going forward on further military action, there'll be more legal types of challenges, but the initial action, I don't think they have a leg to stand on claiming it's illegal.
Jonathan Fahey, it's always good to talk to you. Thank you so much for being with us this Saturday evening, sir.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.